Russ says Spotify should remove stats off of their app. And you know what? Honestly, I agree with the man. We don't talk a lot of Russ around here, but one thing I know about Russ, he's definitely for the artists. He's definitely one of the few artists out there that shows you the path to doing this thing with freedom, doing it independently, doing it with leveraging everything that you have, the tools you have at your disposal. Now, Russ saying it is better than me saying it, because Russ got a few million listeners from what I know. I got like 22. But Russ makes some good points, right? He says it's a catalyst for an unhealthy comparison. It creates misleading metrics like monthly listeners and incentivizes people to cheat so they can inflate the perception of popularity. I think that's his strongest point, right? We've been talking a lot about bots and shit. Bots, who's botting? And when I think about it, I don't think about the big guys. The big guys are getting people to listen to their shit. I'm thinking about that guy that's a little bit out of the hood, but he's starting to hang around with the rappers that are really super popular, and then you got his team botting stuff, getting numbers up, and it really proves nothing. Yeah, you're getting your Spotify numbers up to show that you're somebody, but they're not genuine listeners, and you don't see the effects going on outside. But I guess fake it till you make it, right? And then, he says, hiding numbers will reduce the pressure to compete on inauthentic metrics and encourage a focus on the music itself, right? Look at Apple Music. There's zero combos about how music is performing on there. I think, for me personally, the charts are enough. Like, getting records to charts, I think you can't really botch your way out of that. I think, when we start talking about Billboard charts, right? I think when you combine the streaming numbers, the radios, the YouTube, things like that, I think that's enough. Because I do think these metrics, especially for the big dogs, are still important to kind of have some kind of objective conversations. But when we start talking about like specific followers and listeners being displayed on the app, I'm not saying you can't necessarily count it, but being displayed on the app, it gets weird. I think Spotify can count these things, and then they should be able to award the artist, kind of like YouTube does a little bit, right? Like, all right, here's a plaque. You hit, 1 million listeners or whatever the case on our page, and they do, real vetting. But I think Russ is right on this one. He got some pushback. People are like, oh, would you say the same athletes to hide numbers? And Russ was like, musicians aren't athletes, okay? So numbers do tell a story, but they aren't the only thing. Right? They aren't the only thing, but they do tell a story. And I think this is one of the ones like Spotify, like Russ says here, like for Spotify, it is engagement, but it's like, dog, this is all for show, I will say this though, I think this speaks a lot more to underground artists that might be making really quality music. So I think Russ is really looking out for the artists here. You're making really quality music, and it sucks. You're putting your all into it, and you get discouraged because you have, 50, whatever, monthly listeners. I don't think I've personally ever had that problem. I don't really care. I'm going to make what I want to make and, go outside and gauge how people feel about the records outside. But, yeah, good talk.